Want to start by talking a little Vegas Golden Knights hockey because obviously, sadly, last night was the last game of the year for the Knights. So I'm driving with some buddies of mine, and we went to this bar. I don't think I want to give them free publicity. I'll explain why in a moment. But it's a bar, sports bar, that is located, where was it located? Sunset and Eastern, that vicinity. So we're thinking to ourselves, all right, let's watch the Vegas Golden Knights game. We got Monday Night Football. So we show up, and our focus is obviously on the Vegas Golden Knights game. So let's talk about that first. I thought they were going to win the game yesterday, and it certainly appeared that way. I didn't bet on the game. I didn't have that much confidence in the Vegas Golden Knights, but I thought they were going to win. They're up 2-0 going into the third period, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, maybe they're going to extend this series. Didn't think they were going to win this series, but I thought they were going to win last night. And they didn't. They lost. They probably played the worst 15 minutes of hockey. I don't think that's a stretch. They played all year. There was a 15-minute stretch in the third period where they were just awful. They were turning the puck over. They were losing the physical battles. They weren't getting enough shots on goal. They weren't putting any pressure on Dallas goaltender. They were getting beat to every loose puck in the neutral zone. I just thought I didn't understand it. And the reason why I didn't understand it is we know that teams, they have bad periods. It happens from time to time. But when your season is on the line and you get outplayed like that by the Dallas Stars, listen, Dallas is a very good hockey team. You cannot convince me on paper that Dallas should have won that series. Am I not saying it was close? Am I not saying no? Dallas is a very good team, very well-coached team, very fundamentally sound, not very good offensively, but they certainly have been scoring a lot of goals in the playoffs. I just thought that it was unacceptable. And again, all due respect to the coaching staff, Gerard Gallant is a better hockey coach. I don't care what anybody says. Gallant is a better hockey coach, and it is my personal. And I'm not saying our coach now is not a good coach, because he is. He's a good coach. He's certainly above average. He's had a lot of success. But in my personal opinion, Gerard Gallant, if he is coaching this team, they do not lose to the Dallas Stars 4-1. Period.
Well, the question is, Brian, when we talked about this yesterday, is this Vegas, is this coach, Pete DeBoer, is he going to have a more talented team than he had this year? And I think the answer to that is a resounding no.
Well, here's what I find troubling, because it's funny you mention that, because he was asked, "Is this the you've had some really good teams that have gone?"
Right.
He was asked that question. You've had some good teams, that have gone far in the playoffs. How would you rank this team? And last week he said, "This is the best team I've ever coached." Well, if that's the case, then you can't lose 4-1 to the Dallas Stars. You just can't.
Well, especially in the elimination game, you're up 2-0. 12 minutes left in the game, you give up 3 goals to lose the game. Obviously, one of them was in overtime.
Listen, here's the thing. Hockey's a fickle sport.
That is a major choke, Brian. Last year was a major choke, but at least there was a major penalty to supplement the major choke. But, right now the Golden Knights are one of the they're chokers right now, Brian. The Golden Knights.
Here's the thing.
In the sports world, especially in the hockey world, they are looked at as a team that chokes and that cannot get the job done.
I don't know if they're looked like. Listen, they've only been in Vegas 3 years, and you look at the success they've had. It's pretty unsurmountable. It's unbelievable. So let's start there. There's a lot of positives.
Of course.
I don't look at the season and say the whole season was a complete and total disaster. Look at how far they went in the playoffs. They were a few games away from making the Stanley Cup Finals. So I don't look at the season and say it's a disaster. With that being said, it's a disappointing loss. They should have beat the Dallas Stars. But here's something I will say to what you were talking about. Hockey's a very fickle sport, right? Sometimes you could get a couple bad bounces out and boom, all of a sudden, that's not what happened yesterday in the third period. It wasn't unlucky. If you watch that game, as I did, you'll know that the Knights were completely outplayed in the third period. It wasn't a few bad bounces that went their way, that didn't go their way. That's not what happened yesterday. They didn't have their legs. They weren't skating well. I don't know why. It's the third period. You're up 2-0. You have to protect the lead. If you lose, it's win or go home. Inexcusable. And I put that on the coaching staff. Listen, they came out and they played 2 pretty good periods. You can't come out in the third period and do what they did. And I put a poll on our Twitter page at the Vegas Take. I said, who do you blame this loss on? The coaching staff, the players, the management, or all the above? Well, all the above is winning, which I think is fair, at 48%. Then players at 24%. Coaching staff 17%, management 10%. I would say all the above, but I would put the coaching staff up there a little higher. And I'll say this one more time, and then I'll stop talking about the coaching situation. We have a good coach right now. He's a good hockey coach. I wouldn't say he's not a good coach. He's a good coach. Gerard Gallant is a better hockey coach. We know why Gerard Gallant was, left. why he was fired. It's because of issues he had and issues management had with him and vice versa. You can't let that get in the way. You got to find a way to work things out. Now, listen, I hope I'm wrong. I hope in the next couple of years, Vegas has a ton of success. I hope they get to the Stanley Cup Finals. Listen, if this guy gets to the Stanley Cup Finals and they win a championship in the next 3 years and they win a Stanley Cup, this guy will be a hero, and I will gladly say, boy, was I wrong. I just don't see that happening with this coach. I think there's a reason why he's had so many talented teams, but they haven't gone to glory and won a Stanley Cup. Listen, it's very difficult to win a Stanley Cup. Not many coaches can do it.
Do you think that Marc-Andre Fleur's career is over? Do you think that he retires?
Absolutely not. I think he's going to be traded and he's going to go somewhere else. But I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I haven't brought up the goalie situation. Listen, that's another. Listen, we could Monday morning. I was going to say Monday morning quarterback. I guess you could call it Monday morning goalie cap. But with that being said, although it is Tuesday, you had to go with the goalie that you went with yesterday. You had to. You had to, because he's been in net. You can't just put Fleury out there in Game 7. It's never going to happen. However, with that being said, I think you should have played Marc-Andre Fleury, Hall of Fame goaltender. You should have played him from the get-go. He's a guy that has been there. He's been there. He's been in Game 7s in the playoffs in the NHL. But that's not why they lost. They didn't lose because of the goalie situation. They lost because they couldn't get their offense going. They didn't score enough goals. They were outplayed yesterday in the third period. Dallas was the better team. And we had Vegas Golden Knights superfan Danny Negreanu on the show last week, and he said, listen, the Dallas Stars were 2-1 to win this series, and that was a joke. It was much closer than that. Dallas is a very good hockey team. With that being said, I don't think they're going to win in the Stanley Cup Finals. But this was a golden opportunity, for lack of, no pun intended there, it was a golden opportunity for the Vegas Knights to get back into the Stanley Cup Finals. And they weren't able to do so. So you can't look at this season and say what a wonderful success it was. Was it an above-average year? Was it a good season, especially for a franchise like this in its third year? Absolutely. But it's a controversial season. And we'll have to see what happens next year if we can have a regular NHL season next year. Because there's always going to be an asterisk next to every sport this season because everything's weird. But anyway.
Well, I would say the one silver lining to not going to the Stanley Cup or winning the Stanley Cup is that had it happened, there would be no fans to be able to see it.
Yeah.